You know what's a good show? The X-Files. I'm obviously not the first to discover this, but it's been a blind spot for me. I haven't seen the show before, been recently watching it for the first time, and I'm really digging it. And this video today is going to be about an episode of Season 1. It's episode 10 called Fallen Angel. Really dug this, and apparently, I looked into this, it is the lowest rated episode of the entire series, which I guess just means like the fewest number of people watched it when it broadcast for the first time. Not that it like got bad reviews or anything, but it's kind of funny that this is the episode that I was like, dang, this rocks. And then like nobody watched it when it aired. So I guess I'm going to break down like this underrated episode of Fallen Angel. Actually, what was going on in November 1993? NAFTA passes the legislative houses in the US, Canada, Mexico. So I guess we were preoccupied with NAFTA, so we couldn't watch the X-Files. I don't know. Anyway, I thought like the lighting and the blocking and the direction in this episode is just some really solid TV storytelling. And so let's just jump into the breakdown.
Sorry to disturb you, sir, but we've picked up an unidentified bogey. I think you should see the replay for yourself.
Just look at the colors. This is a scene really close to the start of the episode, and this is what initially made me sit up and think I was watching something special. I don't know, something really struck me about this scene. The colors and the contrast in this shot are just beautiful. There's nothing new about like teal and orange being complementary colors, but there's something about like the incandescent light on the actors' faces here and like just the cool blue of the screens. I don't know if it's because it's like so practically motivated in this shot. I'm just really responding to like the hardness of the light, the quality of the light. I just think this shot is so pretty. Look how deep the contrast is. Like this is just in total darkness, and the light on their faces is pretty hot. So apparently they didn't have the budget to like build out the set the way that, you know, it's necessarily described in the script. And so what they did for this scene is they had this, you know, big empty space, like a soundstage or something. And a lot of the set is implied through darkness, and they just bring in like these panes of glass to reflect a bunch of the lights that they do have, like the screens, to just give a sense that this is like a really big command center without actually having to build out the whole thing. And I think it works so well. Just really leaning into the shadowy nature of all this too. It's just like thematically perfect. Just totally gorgeous. I'm not sure what this is supposed to imply or like what physical item this is supposed to be in the set. It totally doesn't matter. I just love this silhouette and shadow of him coming out from behind like this curtain, I guess. It's so good. Oh, that's interesting. It's probably a mirror. This back thing is all a mirror that's angled to catch him as he comes around the corner here. That's awesome. It's not in complete darkness here, so it's not a full silhouette shadow. We can see a little bit of light on his ear. That's just flexing right there. And we can see like just the general forms and outlines of the computers and stuff in the background. What a beautiful shade of blue-green too. You know what? Okay, check out the difference in the shade of the blue-green on the right side of the screen and the left side of the screen. I think this is additional evidence to support that this is a mirror. This is the first example of like POV, you're a fallen angel. This was really wide lens up on their face. So good. Like, look how wide this is. This is like an 8mm lens on like a Super 35 sensor, I think. Something like that. That's super wide, super close to the subject, really distorted. Used to really good effect in this episode. So we talked a lot about lighting in like the previous scene. This scene, I am just super into the blocking of it, just like where the characters are moving through the space and how they control this conversation.
I don't understand you, Mulder. Why you're always defying protocols, ignoring jurisdiction.
Because I know what I saw, Scully.
She moves over his shoulder. We get this focus rack between the two characters. We get this really strong backlight. Like, I don't think there's any fill over here. We just got one strong light. Oh, you know what? I was going to say it's just a pan, but it's also a dolly. Oh, I love that. It's a slight slide to the right here as we pan to the left to put him on opposite side of her. He's facing away from her. You know what? There is another light. There has to be another light. She steps into the light over here. So we got this main light over here that's definitely serving as like Mulder's key light, and obviously like Scully's backlight in this shot is really powerful. But then also you can sort of tell there's this pool of light on the wall back here. I think that's a separate light, but it's still just all coming from like one side of the screen. There's no fill light, no bounce. There's really embracing that contrast. Also, just the narrative effect of them speaking through a fence to each other. They're clearly on opposite sides of the do aliens exist or not question. There's this barrier between them when she's super upset with him. It's awesome. Here's probably the best example from the episode of the aliens' point of view. Just a really wide lens scurrying across the road. I guess they're also like really short too. It didn't occur to me how short this makes the alien look. Are they like scurrying? Pretty sick. Okay, I wanted to pull out this shot too because we see that there's a ton of contrast on people's faces throughout the episode, like in this opening shot, right? But in this shot, we have significantly less contrast on her face, but there is still a ton of contrast throughout the rest of the shot. Like it's really dark in the background but still quite colorful. We're just filling in Scully's face here. I just really like how they still have a ton of contrast, even when the subject is more evenly lit. Okay, I'm gonna let this scene play out and watch it. The production design in this episode, we saw it in the surveillance center, but also Max's bus that he lives in. So good. Or his van, his trailer, whatever. It's just awesome. Look at all the art everywhere. And these lights that are in the background really lend themselves to some awesome close-up, out-of-focus shots. I mean, that's just a feast. Look at the mixed lighting on Mulder's face here, with the cool and the warm. Even when we've got fill light on Mulder's face, which he often appears in really contrasty shots throughout the rest of the episode, but when we do a fill, we're still bringing contrast in with it by using a different color.
Charlie, we got a situation here.
All right, this scene just has great blocking, and I love the set that they're on. I love the location of this cool Brutalist building. Positioning the camera here, I think, is really interesting because you can get away with a much shorter dolly track, but still get the effect of more parallax just because of these leading lines that are in the roof here. POV, you're an alien sneaking past some guards. Pretty cool. Okay, this was really cool. I didn't notice this until I started making the video and just watching back the footage this morning. Check out the blocking in this scene. See if it reminds you of a previous scene. We get a short dolly track. We get Scully coming in through a door over his shoulder here.
Rough night, huh?
It was terrible.
Moves to his other side.
We lost all but two.
I mean, that's just like the mirror image of the previous setup, right? And this is all hard light in here. Look how hard her shadow is on the refrigerator. That's hard light. I also love this trope in TV and movies when like the two extremely beautiful leads say to each other, "Oh God, you look awful." Like she was working at the hospital all night, uh, pulling double, triple duty, and Mulder's like, "Oh man, you look terrible," and it's still Gillian Anderson. Let's look at this reverse shot of Mulder here. He is evenly lit to some extent. Like I think if we were to measure the exposure on each side of his nose here, it would be like pretty similar. Obviously, I think it's hotter on this side of his face than this side, but we still get plenty of shadow. So we're just still getting a ton of shape with our key and fill, especially on David Duchovny's face. Even when it's evenly lit, or more evenly lit, when there's even exposure across the subject, we still have a ton of contrast. And then boom, more hard light just caressing the curves of David Duchovny's face. Come on.
You don't seem to understand, Scully. Max doesn't believe he was abducted by aliens. I believe he was.
So here's a shot that is supposed to be the alien's point of view, but it's shot with a different lens, a much longer lens. And I wonder if this was supposed to be like an establishing shot of the van, and then they turned it into the alien's point of view. Although no, they kind of they move in. Maybe they just had a very limited field of view to work with, and so they couldn't use a wide angle lens. Otherwise, they would catch a bunch of like production gear or something, Video Village in the background, and so they just zoomed in a little bit or used a longer lens and then just bulged it in post, and you get the effect. Here's a great scene near the end of the episode that makes a conversation in a very boring room very cool.
To the best of your knowledge, was Agent Mulder ever assigned to investigate matters related to the evacuation
Just like with
of Townsend,
one simple
Wisconsin?
camera move, we're just dollying in and out.
At any time, were you aware of his submitting a form?
We get further and further away from him throughout this scene and closer to her throughout this scene.
While in Wisconsin, did Agent Mulder drive a blue Ford Taurus?
We want to distance ourselves from the bureaucracy. We want to get closer to her perspective.
Thank you, Agent Scully.
Sir, request permission to make a statement.
Request denied.
Also, let's look at the lighting here too. We're filming Scully. We have a lot more even lighting, as we tend to have with Scully, but there's still a fair amount of contrast. There's still contrast from on each side of her face, but it's completely different than on this guy. I don't think there's any like fill light in this shot at all. I think it's just like a hard light through some implied window over here. And then for Scully, we will probably bounce back, but no fill for these guys. This episode ends on this shot. I love when there is a wide shot, an establishing shot with a long lens. Normally, when you do like an establishing shot of a location, you kind of just automatically, we'll just use like a wide lens to show the location. For this shot, I really like the effect of using a long lens and then just like getting really far away from the subject. I think that is a very interesting move. I want to establish a scene with a wide shot on a long lens. What a great show. It's just really solid craft all the way through. And at the risk of sounding like I'm accepting an award for discovering a very popular television show, I want to like individually shout out the people who worked on this episode for just being good at your jobs. Obviously, Chris Carter created the show. Larry Shaw directed this episode. Great work with the blocking. John S. Bartley, director of photography, apparently also known as the Prince of Darkness, extremely cool-ass nickname. Graham Murray, art director. Gary P. Allen, assistant art director. Shirley Inget, set decorator. These three went nuts on Max's trailer in particular. Awesome work. David Tickle, chief lighting technician. Beautiful work. Good job, all of you. Some random guy in 2026 liked this episode. So you could finally be proud of yourselves. This is kind of a different episode for the YouTube channel. I'm not really sure what I'm doing with the channel lately, and I just wanted to talk about an episode of a TV show that I liked a lot. If you like this kind of stuff, let me know. I wrote a bunch of stuff about like how TV looked different then versus now and like the trends and stuff, and I'll probably still make that video. I'm rambling. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.